So I'm out in the shop today and I have my new mobile antenna all set up. Probably gonna be mounting that on the car today. Connected to it right now is one of the coil whips. It goes up there a little ways. I'm gonna try it out with these coil whips, a 102-inch whip, and probably a 4-foot fire stick, just to get a good comparison on the three antennas. Let me take that apart and show you what I did with the mount. I bought this ball mount at the yard sale that I went to last weekend, and it comes with, if you're familiar with the ball mounts, it comes with a plastic isolator plate that separates the antenna from the metal body of the vehicle. And what you do is you drill an oversized hole in the body so that it has space all around that shaft, and the shaft doesn't end up touching the body. And normally you get a metal, it's like a C, it's a shape of a C that goes on here and bolts on with this to give it some support. Unfortunately, I didn't get that metal piece, and I don't know if you can see it. Let me put this camera on close up. Can you see the cracks next to the bolt holes in that? I do not want to use that piece of plastic. So what I did was I made up this thing. This will get mounted up on the roof of the car with the carriage heads outside. The ball mount will go into that. And notice how thick that is? Let me just show you. Look at the difference in thickness. This is actually a piece of plexiglass. Inside of a flat screen computer monitor is a piece of plexiglass that is that thickness, that lives within that panel. I have used this stuff for all kinds of things. Whenever we get a dead monitor, we don't throw it away. We take it apart and pull that piece out of there. So the ball mount will go in there, and then I made up a round washer out of that same thick plexiglass. So that will go on here, and then the body of the vehicle will get pinched between these two. Then what I'm going to do is put the connector on there. I soldered on a big connector right to the coax, and that will connect. Actually, that belongs under there to support it, and then on there. And then I gotta clean this up still, but once I take that to the wire wheel, it'll be good. It's a good lock washer that will dig in many places on that connector. Then I put my nut on there, and that will sandwich it in. It'll sandwich it to the roof panel. Then these 4 bolts will come out of here. I'm going to drill 4 holes in the roof. What a mess I'm going to make in my roof. But I'm going to drill the 4 holes for those bolts. And what I did was, one of them is one of those little connectors is soldered to the braid on the coax. And then I just made up some more jumper wires, just so that it always has good ground. It's connected to all 4 points that are connecting to the roof skin. So I shouldn't have any ground issues with this. You got the coax connector all set. Alright, I guess what I have to do now is go drill a whole bunch of holes. Alright, let's go outside to the car and get the first hole. What I'm going to do is drill the first hole, the big one, and then sandwich this in, snug it all up. That way all 4 of these holes end up in exactly the right place. So I'll get that put in. I'll mark where all my holes are going to be. Take this off, drill those out, and then put it all together for the final time. I have some sealer that I'm going to use underneath this, clear sealer, so that when this is on the car, you're going to see the color of my car right through that mount. Once the sealer is dry, that is, because I'm sure the sealer is going to come out white. But when it dries, it'll dry clear, and we'll be able to see the color of the car right through the mount. All right, let's get to that. Let me get outside and start making a mess of my roof. Well, there's no going back now. I drilled the hole. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna center this over it and lock it in place to drill out my other 4 holes. Time for a paint job. So you can see I have the plastic washer on there now, and you can see daylight all around the shaft. It's pretty much centered right in that hole so that that shaft does not touch any of the metal body. I have it snugged down, and now I'm going to go back up on the roof and drill out the other 4 holes. Alright, I got all the holes drilled. Now I'm just going to clean off that area of the roof. I'm going to put some sealer on there. We want a good clean surface for that sealer. I'm also going to clean the back side of this plexiglass. Because again, we need a good seal on that. Set that plate down. Put a couple of bolts in place. Now the holes in that plexiglass are slightly undersized, so the square head on the underside of the carriage bolt should lock in place enough for me to be able to tighten up the nuts underneath on that. And we can plop that back down in there. All right, let's go snug it all up on the underside and get it all sealed up. You don't want to tighten them too tight, because remember, on the other side it's just plastic. Thick plastic, but it's still just plastic. Hopefully we didn't put any cracks. Alright, lock washers are flattened right out. The burrs from my drill are flattened right out. Our shaft is right in the center. So let's get the plastic washer, the lock washer that I did clean up. Came out pretty good too. I don't know if you can see that or not. But it's going on the inside, so it will never rust again. And I'm going to put the exit side on there. We need the coax. And then that lock washer. Oh, and the nut stuck down in my hand. The nut. And I got it cross threaded, of course. It's all connected. I got my ground wires all on there. They're all snugged up. I have ground wires going to all 4 bolts. That way I'm guaranteed that my coax, the shield, gets a good ground to the body. Why rely on 1 when I can use 4? All right, let me get an antenna and throw an antenna up on this thing. It should be good to mount an antenna now. It's all mounted. I'm gonna go down on the ground a second and show you what it looks like up in the air. I took the old Big Mama off. That NMO mount will come in handy in the future, I'm sure. I love to test out antennas, so there'll be more antennas hooked up on this roof. With the ball mount, I can easily unscrew that spring right from the ball and take that right off of there. So if I decide I want to hook up an antenna to try out on that, I have the option. And it's another coax that's already run inside the car. All right, let me get down on the ground and show you what this thing looks like up in the air. Isn't that fantastic? 102-inch whip up in the middle of the roof. Well, close enough to the middle. I wanted it kind of close to one of the roof frame, the framing members, just so that it has a little more strength. All right, now I'm gonna get the SWR meter and check this thing out and see how the tune is. Well, it's already working. It's picking up some DX. So the antenna is hooked up now. I'm on channel 20. I'm a key to mic and you'll see that SWR meter. The meter will change to SWR. So I have it set at SWR right now and we're showing a 1.1 to 1 match in the middle of the band. So I have a radio set up in the garage connected to no antenna. And I'm going to transmit. We're going to see what we can get, see if we get anybody on the radio, and we'll hear how it sounds on that radio in the garage. CQ 151, South Carolina. Standing by. Good afternoon there, 145. What's going on? Copy. Does radio sound all right? I'm talking on a my mobile radio. I'm out in my car with a new antenna up on the roof.
Roger, sound the choice as usual.
Copy that. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, man. 145. What's going on? Copy. Does radio sound all right? I'm talking on my mobile radio. I'm out in my car with a new antenna up on the roof. Copy that. Thank you very much.
Well, there it is. The 102 whip is all done. It's installed. I made a contact with a gentleman in Florida, and I also talked to one of my locals, which I'm not exactly sure where he is, but I know he's 15 to 18 miles away, maybe as much as 20. But he said it sounded great and it was working well, even with it parked right next to the garage with the power line right close by overhead. It was still making that trip about 18 miles away. All right, that's it. We'll be doing a road test pretty soon and trying this thing out, see what kind of range we can get out of it. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.